creating course experiences that are usable, inclusive, and accessible to every single student in your classroom. It's so easy to put a lot of content into Canvas, and we have courses with hundreds of files, links, and pages. It can be a little bit trickier sometimes for our students when they first log into your course to understand exactly how you've organized your course content, how to get around what things they can do to find the things that are most important to you. So we'll be going through and kind of talking about some quick and easy things that you can do to make your course content more usable. One of the things I would mention right off the bat, some of the things that we'll do today are so quick and easy that you can do them right along with us. So if you have a Canvas course that you're working on for fall semester, or one that's in development, I'd encourage you to open that up and you can follow right along and try it out for yourself, and then holler out if you have any questions at any point. Okay, let's go ahead and advance the slides. Here is my information. I'll share this again at the end. I'm going to put in that just right here. Oops, let me grab, I'm going to grab that text real quick. I did start a post in the Mighty Networks community, so feel free to leave a comment there if you have questions afterwards. That's in the chat, or you can follow up later on. I'll continue to monitor that, or you can send me an email directly, accessibility at, oops, that's just supposed to be accessibility at usu.edu. Let me fix that real quick. I apologize. You can email me at Christopher.Phillips or accessibility at usu.edu should work great. One of the things that I think we're all pretty aware of this semester is going to be a little bit unusual. We're going to have students accessing our content from many more different kinds of devices than probably ever before, whether that's sitting in front of a desktop computer, on a laptop, some kind of a tablet or a mobile device, and they're going to be accessing our course material from all different kinds of locations, contexts. We may have more students who don't have access to a computer potentially and are accessing most of your course content on a mobile device, for example, or just grabbing internet wherever they can with just all of the limitations that we have from the COVID situation. And so it's going to be more important than ever, I think, to focus on everything we can do to make our course content as usable, as helpful, as welcoming, and accessible as possible. Students are, and us as faculty, there's so much stress and kind of concern around other things. If a student logs into your course and perhaps they just see a mess, maybe they're not sure where to get started or what to do next, if we can provide them a nice welcome mat when they come into our courses, it's just going to make a huge difference. It's going to reduce questions that they have for you and allow them just to learn what you're teaching a lot better than they otherwise might. So with that kind of brief introduction, we're going to go ahead and jump right into some of the tools and resources that are available to help you make your content more usable. The very first one I want to touch base is just a couple of things that we can do to clean up your course content. So and some of these are really quick and easy, so much that I'll just jump right out of my slides here and show you how to do these in Canvas. That's where you can jump in and do some of that right along with me. The first one I want to show you is kind of a big deal, and it's so easy to do, is just simplifying your navigation. When you import new content into Canvas, that left menu can get so full of just a lot of garbage menu items that you're not using, that we may not even know what some of them are. And so the challenge there is every time your students log into your course, that they have to go through every single one of these menu items to find the ones that are actually relevant to them. Sometimes they're clicking on things like collaborations or conferences that show up in a lot of courses, but that most instructors don't use. That leads to a frustrating experience. Fortunately, it's super easy to fix that. So let's jump out here and do a quick demo. If you're in your Canvas course, feel free to follow along. I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. I didn't do a check at the beginning. Maybe just a yes from someone in the chat that you're seeing my screen okay. Perfect, thank you so much. Okay, so from your Canvas course, this is just kind of a shell here, but the first thing you're gonna do is go down through all of those menu items. You can see there's quite a few there. In this course, at least, you're gonna click on settings on the very bottom left. When you get to settings here, there's a few options across the top. We're going to go to the third one over, which is navigation. I'm going to go ahead and click on that navigation. At this point, you can see there's a whole bunch of these menu items here. You're going to want to go through each and every one of those to find the ones and to get rid of all of them that you're not using. You can also move them around. So if you want your syllabus at the top, you can just drag that up to the top. That makes it easy. But as I go down here, for example, I can see syllabus, announcements, people, modules. Those ones all make sense. Grades, maybe even quizzes and assignments, discussions. But then I kind of set this up this way. But there's going to be a whole bunch of them that you're not using. And to get rid of those in your course, you can either click on this little options over here and click disable. Or the other option is you can just click on it and drag it right down here below. I'm going to go ahead and do that on a whole bunch of these just to kind of show you that difference. Files is one that we recommend hiding generally. There's a lot better ways to link to files that are going to be more usable for students, and we can touch base on some of those in a bit if you have questions. I'm going to get rid of files, conferences, nobody ever uses. Some you might, but most people don't use that. My Canvas pages, again, I can keep that available for students to look at, but it's generally going to be a lot better for me to put my pages into a modules so teachers or our students can access them that way. Again, I'm just going to, and again, feel free to keep any of these that you do use. There's no pressure to get rid of them, but the key thing is just to make sure that you don't have any listed that you're not using. So I'm going to get rid of all these and we'll just look at what this changes. Again, this is the menu right now. An important step here that they don't maybe make as clear as they could is to click save. So after you've removed those extra menu options, I want to click save right there. And now boom, over here, I've got a much better, more manageable set of links. Some of them still show up for you as an instructor. Another quick tip that many of you know about, if I want to see what this looks like for my students, again, from settings, I'm just going to come over here to the right-hand side and click on student view. And as I do that, I can see my course as my students will see it. And you can see that's a much more manageable set of links. My students can come in here and quickly find my syllabus, assignments, or whatever they're looking for without having to wade through all of that other garbage. Okay. So that's our quick tip, is just clean up that navigation. The next one is a pretty easy one as well. I won't even go back to my slides. We'll just kind of stay in demo mode here, where you're just going to come down. Again, click on settings, and in that right-hand menu, there's going to be a link over here, kind of towards the bottom in that right-hand column that says validate links in content. You should absolutely do this every time you publish a course before the semester starts. We've done this, we've just kind of done some random testing of a number of courses. And this particular one you can see has 74 broken links, but we often see 20, 30, even upwards of 100 broken links sometimes in a course. What that means basically is that every time a student clicks on one of those broken links, they're going to go nowhere at all, and that's going to be a frustrating experience. Versus you can just take a few minutes at the beginning of the semester, come in here, you can either restart it or start your validation. And it can even be a little bit fun sometimes. It'll give you a list of where there's a broken link. So I can click on course syllabus, for example, and then it's telling me this is the link that's broken. So I'm going to come down here and just do a search for that master's program. Again, I can see if I click on that, it's going to go absolutely nowhere. I think you might get a notification as an instructor a lot as well, so you're going to get bothered by those notifications. So just take a minute to fix those broken links, then you can run your validation again, and you'll hopefully see that number go down until you get to 0. Again, just going to make hopefully not a lot of effort on your part, but can lead to a lot of reduced frustration from your students. So that's another way. And then the last thing I want to show you before we leave Canvas for a minute is a fantastic tool called Tidy Up that was developed right here at Utah State. In fact, the developer of this tool is on the call with us today, Ludovic. Feel free to send him a private message. Did a fantastic job. The challenge is, especially if you've taught it in Canvas for more than one semester, we tend to kind of accumulate content. And so we're going to talk about a tool called Tidy Up. And basically what it does Well, first, let me show you how to install it. And every one of you, you're going to want to install this in your courses. If you have any problems doing so, please reach out. Anybody from City can do this in just a couple of minutes for you. Again, I'm going to come down here and click on Settings. And then I can either scroll down through all these extra things or just do a quick search. And I'm going to look for a tool called Tidy Up. I'm going to click on Enable there, and it's going to add that to my menu. As soon as I do that, I'm also going to click on Save. And now I know I just told you to remove menu items. This is one you're going to want to add back in. It's only visible to you as an instructor, so your students won't see it. I click on Tidy Up in my course, and it's going to bring up this nice little welcome screen. All I do is click on Scan Course, and this tool goes out and it scans all of the content in your course. This is going to be your course announcements, course pages, course modules, quizzes, the works. And then it's also going to look at all your Canvas files in a course, and then it'll kind of tell you which of your Canvas files are being used, where they're being used, but even more importantly, is going to be a list of all the files that are no longer being used in your course, which is fantastic. Again, you have this file section over here, and we always add content to it. More than half of the files across all of our Canvas courses are no longer in use. This might be old syllabi, old test banks, whatever it is. These are old files that you're not using anymore. So just a quick tour of how this tool works. This gives me a list again. So there are no links to any of these files in any of my course content. So I can know pretty safely that I can delete these and not have to worry about it causing any problems. I can hover over any of these files to take a quick look at it, just to make sure maybe it should be in use and I need to add it somewhere. I can come over here if I want to look at just my images, for example, or just video files. I don't have any of those, just PDF files. Let's say I know that all these Unit 3 ones I don't need anymore. I may just come over here and type in Unit 3 into the search. I can select all, and then with just a couple of clicks, I'm going to zap those right out of my course. Super easy, and does a great job of just cleaning out that course content so you can focus on the content that you're actually using. The other resource that's available over here from the Canvas content section right here, this does something similar, but it's for all of your Canvas quizzes, pages, assignments, discussions, and announcements. And this doesn't necessarily tell you if it's in use. It does do that. This template doesn't have files in use, but not very many. But for example, if I have a page or an assignment listed in a module, it'll tell me that. But it'll also tell me, is it published or not? If we were all together, we might say, you know, who in the room has had a student complain about content not being published at the beginning of the semester. But you can also check to see, is this listed in my modules or not? When was the last time it was updated? I can do a quick edit of the title right there if I want to. Or again, if I've got a bunch of extra, it looks like I've done a double import here. Maybe you've had that happen before, where you've imported content twice. So I can come and see, oh, I've got concentration 2. I can select all of those at once. And again, I can just zap those with one click. One last thing I want to show you with this tool in the file section. You can, besides your files that are not in use, it can also be nice to come in here and see the files that you are using. So for example, this specific PDF file, it shows I'm using it on these 2 different pages, which is nice. And then I can kind of just remember where I'm linking to my syllabus, for example. It's just a nice all-around Swiss Army kit. Again, built right here by one of our own at Utah State, Ludovic Atiogbe. Thank you, Ludo, for that great tool that we all have access to now. Okay. So those are a few things you can do to clean up your course, first of all. Again, we talked about updating your settings, going through and just checking your broken links, getting rid of all those broken links, and then lastly, doing a quick tidy up on your course. Okay, there's that tidy up tool again that we saw. Now I want to talk just a little bit for accessibility. Now, some things around accessibility are very specific to students with disabilities, and we have a fantastic disability resource on campus. So anytime you have a student who needs specific help in your classroom, you'll be contacted by our Disability Resource Center, and they will help you make those specific accommodations. What I want to talk about today for just a minute are some things that you can do to make your course more accessible that are also going to make it significantly more usable for every student in your classroom. So a couple of examples. Let's look at this first one. Video captions. This is one that probably everybody is familiar with. If you're new at Utah State, for example, you may have listened to our fight song a few times and have no idea what in the world it's talking about. You can flip on the captions real quick and see and read those exact words about Scotsman and Thistle and everything else that it says in there. Your students might have the same experience in your class. Maybe they don't completely understand something you're saying. But captions, again, absolutely required for students who are deaf or hard of hearing. Otherwise, they just can't access that content. However, captions are also beneficial and helpful to a number of other student groups or contexts. I'll just pause for a second. Think for just a moment when you've used captions and they've been helpful, or maybe if you can think of another scenario or group of students on campus or scenario, yeah, where captions might be helpful to students in your class. And just throw those into the chat or feel free to go off mic and shout that out. Who might benefit from captions?
I know sometimes when you're playing a video during a broadcast course, you don't know how good the sound is in the various sites. And so that way, even if they couldn't hear it very well, they could read what it was.
Perfect. I love that, Marla. Thank you so much. I hadn't even thought of that one before, but yeah, if your audio is ever jittery at all, that's a great time where captions would be helpful. Terry, or a couple people, Anne Morella, for students who speak, for whom English is a second language, it's so much easier to read a new language than it is to listen for many students. And so having those captions there, super helpful. Tim, watching on a bus, I love that. And that's going to be so many different scenarios. Maybe you're at the computer lab and forgot headphones. You can still watch the video without having to have the audio turned on. Or maybe you just want to watch a show late at night and you get in bed late with your partner. You can turn on whatever show you're watching and not wake somebody up. Good examples, everybody. Thank you so much. New terminology, that's a great one as well. Yeah, if you're introducing new vocabulary, students may not just recognize what exactly you're saying as you say those words. So you can go ahead and if you put the captions in there, they can read it as they do that. You guys these are great examples. Yeah, learning style as well was mentioned by Marianne. I love that. There's increasingly a body of research that shows that if students turn on captions while they watch a video, it increases retention. So that can be a big deal, just to help students get that material into your noggins a little bit better. So your question, Jeanette, as to where you turn on captions, great question. Captions, let me talk about that process. If captions are a part of your video, then a little CC button will show up right here in your Kaltura video if you're using kind of our Kaltura media solution. You can just click on the caption button right there and it'll show up. If you don't have captions, I'll talk about that in just a second. I want to share really briefly, this is a brand new tool that we just this week actually was made available to us, and it's still in beta, so it's not widely available yet, but if anybody wants to try it out, we'd be happy to add this to your course. I'm going to again just jump out and show you this because I am so excited about it. We've been waiting for this for a long time. But basically what it'll do is for any video that has captions, this one's going to take just a minute to load here. You can start playing that video just like I would normally. Whoops, and then, so I can turn my captions on or off. You can see those down here. But then in addition to that, it has this new feature that's called an interactive transcript. And this is exciting, especially if you're a 60-minute lecture, for example. Let's say I remember that the instructor talked about Macs. And again, this is a beta, so we're figuring this out still. I can say, oh, if you're a Mac user, I'm going to click on if you're a Mac user. And then it goes directly to that part of the video and we'll play it right there for you. So this will be widely available for spring semester, but if you're anxious to get your hands on it, reach out to me and we can turn it on for some videos in your courses, even if you're just willing to help us get feedback on it. The other nice feature here is you can click right here and download that transcript. And again, then students can take your video on the, and read it if that's their preferred way of getting that content. This is just going to be a really great feature we're excited about. Love it. And Rhonda, you mentioned students with reading disabilities. Absolutely, captions are going to be a benefit there. So now you're all asking, how do I get captions on my videos? We do have a captioning service that is available to instructors for instructional content. All you need to do is email captions@usu.edu. Again, there's a link on those resources as well. We're not able to proactively caption all videos, but if it's a video you plan on using over a couple of semesters, we generally are able to do that for you at no charge. There are also tools to do some self-captioning or machine captions if anybody's interested in that, but we are able to caption a number of videos in your courses. So just shoot us an email and we can take a look at your course and get started on that. Questions on captioning before we get started? We would love to have you reach out. If you do send an email, just maybe include in there that it is a proactive caption. It comes from a different bucket of money than those we do for accommodation requests, but we're happy to take care of that still. Okay, thank you. This next feature isn't so much one that you need to do anything about, but one that we want everybody to be aware of. This is a great feature, and you've probably seen this, a couple of these icons actually. There's this icon over here that talks about how accessible your document is. I won't talk about that in this session. We do have an accessibility workshop that we go over that specifically, but I want to talk about the little arrow that's on this other side. I think the arrow actually looks a little bit different now, but this is available anytime you link to a Word document, a PDF document, any kind of document. It automatically adds this little arrow here, and a student can click on that. And as soon as they click on it, it gives them this option to download your content in any of these formats. And again, this is a tool that we do pay extra for. So we're super excited to help students be aware of this. And again, just to show you what this looks like, I think I have an example right here. I'll just go to a page. I know I have I'm just going to create a new page with a link real quick. Sample page. If I link to any file, I'm just going to link to a PDF file as an example here. I click save. Then as soon as I do that, you see this little arrow that shows up right here. As soon as I click on that arrow, I click alternative formats. And all these options come up. And so what this basically means, a student can download any PDF file in your course as an audio file. They can listen to it on their way to school, when they're out for a run, out in the garden. Another new format they've recently added is called Beeline Reader. It's kind of a cool format that was developed actually for speed reading to help just people read faster, but it ends up, it's been extremely helpful for students in a number of different contexts, whether they might have someone with dyslexia, attention deficit disorder. The first time you create an alternate format, it does take a minute or two. So I may not have this one to show you right off the bat. We can come back to that, but it is a great resource. Again, any of your students can download any of your files.
Hey, Chris, can I
interrupt? Please do, Rose.
So was this in design tools, or is this something I have to upload, or is this already?
No, it's just built in. So again, anytime you upload a link to a file, you should see that little arrow for
okay,
PDF,
and then,
PowerPoint, Word. No, go right ahead, sorry.
And then do they need to have an audio app that connects with Canvas on their machine?
No, it doesn't connect to Canvas. It's just a standard MP3 file. So it would play in iTunes or Windows Media or anything they use. Whatever that is, it'll just play automatically.
This is fantastic. Thank you.
We're excited about this. So again, let me show you. Here's what this PDF file looks like. I didn't look at this one before, so it looks like there's a little bit technical jargon. But I downloaded it as a Beeline Reader file, and you can see it does this kind of nice coloring where the end of a line is blue and the beginning of the next line is blue, or according to my preference, I can. And again, this one may or may not be preferred. Some students really like this, and it can be super helpful. But again, just know this is available for any of your students to use if they need it. Okay, I did have a couple of questions on captioning that came in, just to hit real quick. Marianne asked, there is a way currently to request captions in Kaltura. And that's a good question. We became aware of this feature just a little bit ago, so we will get those reviewed. We are a little bit behind, but I'll actually make sure I get back to those in the next couple of days. The best way is going to be for now to email captions@usu.edu. We will make sure to review any of those that you've requested in Kaltura. Brenna, on self-captioning, if you would send me an email just to captions@usu.edu, I'd love to follow up with that. I'll try to capture that in the chat as well. Okay. Let me jump back into our slides. We're going to jump through a few more things real quick and then have some time for questions at the end. Oh, the other one, this is one I'll just show you real quick. This is a great feature. Every single course in Canvas has an accessibility report built into it. And so you can click on settings. I'll just show how this works real quick. And then I'm going to come down until I find accessibility report. I've got a long list of these. I'll turn that on. And again, I won't go in depth about everything that this means, but we want you to know that this is here at least. You can click on this as an instructor, and it'll tell you exactly how many pages, PDF files, etc. you have in your course and how accessible your course is, as well as some things you can do to make your course more accessible. And we do have a team of students who are fantastic at making courses more accessible. So if you come in here and don't know what any of this means, just reach out to accessibility@usu.edu and we can help you. If you want to do some of this yourself, there is a great section here, content with easiest issues to fix, that you can click on, and it'll tell you, you just need to click on this little icon. It'll say what you need to do to make your course a little bit more accessible. And this is, again, some of these things are going to be useful to all students. Some of them are going to be more specific to students with disabilities. But the more accessible you can make your content up front, just the better it's going to be for everyone. And just imagine that student with a disability coming into your Canvas course and it's accessible from day one. That just sends a powerful message that they belong, that they're a part of your class. So, okay, let me jump to the next slides here. This next one I'm super excited about. I'm going to talk about a problem of, this is where we talk about PDF files, Rose, that you asked about earlier on, that have been an essential core part of education ever since we started putting material online. However, there are some challenges with PDF content. And so often, you know, we'll develop this beautiful, nice course with a nice navigation maybe. We have beautiful graphics. A student comes in, they say, wow, this teacher really knows what they're doing. And then they start clicking on links and all of a sudden we get this kind of an experience, right? You click on a PDF file and depending on if you're accessing it on a mobile device or your computer, or it might open up in a new tab, it might download. They're just going to be, the PDF experience is not always ideal. And let's touch base on that. First of all, nobody feel bad if your course is primarily made up of PDF content. You're not alone. It is, you know, I actually just pulled these numbers recently. We've been doing a lot of work to kind of get rid of some of the PDF files. It used to be 23% of all content. We're down to 17% now. So anyways, let me talk about how we're doing that a little bit. First off, a lot of our PDF files, these are all from real courses, look like this, right? Where students just, or maybe have a little bit difficult time or get a crook in their neck reading, or they may have to go the other direction sometimes. Here's one that was all the way upside down Z. And then we have courses as well. Sometimes our PDF scans just don't look that great. I thought this one was just, I needed to zoom in, but there just wasn't much content here. This particular paper happened to be called, ironically, Designing Challenging Curriculum, which I love. But even if we have a nice, clean PDF file, something like this, right? This is, there's a couple of challenges with this. For one, it may not be accessible to someone with a disability, just because sometimes PDF files, the text is actually an image. So it may be difficult to read, but even if that's not a concern perhaps, or, but if you open up a PDF file like this on your mobile device, again, and we're seeing more and more of that from our students, they're either going to have this kind of an experience where they just really can't even read that text without a microphone or a magnifying glass, or you're getting this kind of an experience where you have to zoom in and kind of do the fingerprint back and forth and back and forth. There are other ways that PDF files are problematic, but those are kind of some of the key ones. And again, so the big question is, so what do I do, right? I've got all this content in PDF format. And this is where Utah State's doing some really kind of innovative and exciting work, where we have some tools available to us now where we take a PDF file that might look like this, and with just a couple of clicks and a little bit of editing, it turns into a nice, beautiful Canvas page. And so now you've got something that is fully accessible. It's much more usable. So when a student clicks on the link, they don't leave your course and your course navigation. They're just right there in your course still. They can still download the PDF if anybody prefers that. You can track usage, you can edit these. There's just so many advantages to having this same content available in Canvas. It's going to be a much better user experience for a lot of students. Let's look at a couple of other quick examples. Here's just a table that was in a PDF document. Again, that's what it might look like when you put it over in a Canvas page. Here's another one. This one, again, not that bad of a file to read. It might be heavy on your toner if you need to print that one out. But if I put that into a Canvas page, it's going to be super slick. I can simply open that on my mobile device, and it's responsive, meaning it'll be basically easy to read on a mobile device or on a bigger device, whatever it might be. So how do we do this? There's a couple of ways we can do that. Great. Yeah, let me come back to Sean's question right now. So there's a couple ways. There is a way you can do this yourself. And I'm just going to go ahead and demo this. And again, we have Ludovic, who's on our call, to thank for this tool. But if you go into the file section of your course, and again, anybody's welcome to do that right here, right now. I think I have a PDF file in here. Let's say I've got so here's a PDF file. This is a nice clean one, but it'll work on any PDF file. If it's poor quality, there may be more to fix. But for my files, I just come over here to these three dots, and then I have those alternative formats that we showed you earlier. One of those formats is HTML. So basically what this tool does is it takes that alternative format. If I click on that, and it's going to convert it right over to a Canvas page. Now it does, you can see that it did that, it converted it. You can click on it here. It does note here that corrections may be needed. And again, it's not going to be a perfect conversion, but oftentimes it does a pretty good job. So if I come over here and click on that, I can see what that looks like. But that's at a Canvas page now. So if I go like this, for example, again, it's just going to be flexible to read anywhere I want to read it. Sean brought up a great question around images. Currently, the tool does not bring over images into your Canvas page. We think that's possible to do, and we're going to be working on a fix for that. So stay tuned, and we'll try doing that. Good, Jeanette. So you had an experience where you did this on a file, and some of the words on the page were mixed up or misspelled. And so again, if you have, depending on the quality of the document, it may or may not be as good. One of the things, though, we want to mention, while you can do this yourself, again, we have a team of students that are able to do this for you a lot of the time. Sometimes that process for us involves finding a cleaner version of the document, or maybe a source one that we can convert. And so, I mean, feel free to tackle this, but I would love to hear from any of you who want this done for your course. We've done thousands of these files at this point. And I just personally get so much joy out of kind of making this better experience for students. We've done some research. Students significantly prefer this format over PDF files, which are still there available to them. So if you do have an experience, Janet, or any others where you try this out on your own, and it just looks like it's going to be a lot of editing involved, that's where just send it over the wall to us, and we're happy to take a look at that. We have a process where every file gets reviewed at least 2 times before we put those back into your course. And we'd be happy to do that for you. And we do a lot of work as well as we do these to kind of make sure. In fact, let me just jump out and show. You can see some examples of this from, I'm just going to go to that usability page that I think I shared earlier. Let me grab that link real quick. Yeah, so right here from this page, I'll put this link in here again. I can come over here. This is some of the problems, but we have a Canvas course set up where you can kind of see what these look like. So So here are some examples. Here's Alice in Wonderland, for example. We convert that to a PDF page. We put a nice reference at the top, bring those images in. It's just going to be a much better reading experience for your students. Okay, let me go back to questions there. Great. PDFs, when you want to print them out. So it's a good question. I think generally we'd recommend just putting out, if you start with a Word document, there's a couple of ways you can do that. One would just be to put the Word document itself in there. A Word document's often going to be more accessible and more responsive than a PDF document. But even better, a lot of the time is going to be just to copy that text out of your Word document and paste it right into Canvas. And so if you need to print that still, for example, I just come up here and click File, Print, just like you do on any web page, and it's going to print a nice user-friendly version of that. If you have something that needs to be printed a very specific way, then absolutely, keep the PDF file. But again, on these, we are making the PDF file available still, kind of as a secondary source. And so we don't make them read the content from the PDF if they'd rather read it in their browser. But if they want the PDF file, they can just click on it here and download that, easy peasy. That same tool that's available for files right here is also available for every Canvas page. And so I can click on that, click on my page and download that as an audio file, which is a nice feature as well. But again, if you have concerns about that, there are ways to make accessible PDF files. Even though by default that's not the case, but again, we do have that accessibility workshop where we go over that. If you do feel like you need to use PDF files, we're happy to work with you to make sure those PDF files are accessible. But sometimes we see just like, for example, where a professor might put instructions to an assignment in a PDF file versus just putting them on the Canvas page. So then every time you want to update it, you go in and you have to edit your Word document, convert it to PDF and re-upload it versus just coming into Canvas and clicking on Edit. And it's just going to be such a better experience for your students, at least. And oftentimes for you as well, though. And you can kind of give whatever there. Let me look at comments here and see what else we have. A worksheet, though, that's a great example, Rose, where a PDF file would make sense. If there's something they need to print and fill out, you can make worksheets in Canvas. We've done a number of those, and I could, if you haven't, if you're curious about that, send it over our way, and we'd be happy to look at one. But a syllabus is one where we, and I'll just mention this briefly, we definitely recommend using Canvas for your syllabus. Let me find an example real quick of one. Let me just look at an old course of mine. If you haven't done your syllabus in Canvas before, it is, I would highly recommend it. Again, so for one, you can just make it look really nice. But the other nice thing about creating your syllabus in Canvas, if you use design tools at all, at least, you can see right here it says University Policies Updated. You can automatically insert all of the university policies, and it'll automatically update those anytime they're changed. And then again, I can just click cancel here. So I've got a nice, oh, and something just broke on this one for whatever reason. I think that's just because this is a course from a few years ago. But if I need to print my syllabus, again, I just come in here and click print, and I've got a nice, clean, user-friendly version of that as well. So, and again, you can create a separate version as a PDF. That just makes, that just is an extra thing to do. When you print those, you won't lose the images. And again, so the automatic conversion, just to clarify there, those images don't come across, but you can re-add them back in, or if we do that for you, we make sure to bring those conversions over. So, and again, if you want to have a PDF as a backup copy, there's no problem there. But I think more and more we would just say you don't need to do that anymore. Often you can just put it as a Canvas page and all the functionality that's needed there. Unless it's a worksheet, or there may be other exceptions, but most of the time, a lot of our content that's in a PDF file doesn't necessarily need to be. Any other questions about that process? And Rose, I'm happy to touch base with you later, even look at your course. For Rose, anybody on this call, if you just want to say, what does an accessible math document look like as a Canvas page, for example? Send us a document. We can give you a demo, do one or two, And then you can look to see if that makes sense to you as well. And again, those can come over with accessible math formulas or images or whatever you need. We can make sure we convert those over. Okay. So that's that process there. And again, please do go to some of the resources that are available there. There are some other things that you can do as well to kind of make your course more usable. And please reach out for help at any point. We have just a great group of instructional designers and student employees who know this stuff and are happy to come in and help you do some of this cleanup. And then don't be overwhelmed at all if from everything we talked about today in this session or from all of ETE, you're just going to go back to your classroom and do 1 or 2 changes, right? This is a journey more than a destination. And I think as long as you're looking at what can I do to make my content more usable, you know, today than it was yesterday, then you're in the right direction. Great question from Rusty real quick. As far as students to take notes on PowerPoints, I love that as an example. I think that's a great one. I'm going to share again another quick link here that I didn't talk about too much today, but from this usability page that we've shared that link, another example here is to make your, let's see, share files in their original format. So this is something a lot of instructors do, where they take a PowerPoint file and they might save it in a format like this with 3 slides per page or even 9 slides per page, whatever the kind of the teacher's preference is or what they think their students might like. Our recommendation is, instead of trying to do this and anticipate what students need, just upload the PowerPoint file directly. And at that point, and again, if you want to do a second PDF document, that's fine. But if you upload the PowerPoint, then students can print out the notes in whatever format they want. So they can do it 6 slides per page or 4 slides per page. And that PowerPoint document is going to be much more accessible, mobile friendly than the PDF document would be. So, and again, it's just you're probably just adding some extra work to yourself. It's a great thing to do, I think, to help encourage students to use notes. And if you want to do that in addition to, but if the alternate might be, you know, just share, here's some helpful instructions from Microsoft, for example, that you can share with your students. Here's how to print out your notes and slides in a way that's going to work for you. And then when you update those slides, you don't have to go back and also create the new PDFs. You're just opening up the PowerPoint and putting it right in there. Okay. Good questions. That is it on our presentation. Again, let me put my notes up here. I did have a question about showing the expandable sections on Canvas pages, and I would be happy to do a quick demo of that. Let me pause just for a second though, in case, are there any questions about anything we showed you today that you're curious about or have questions about? Or if you have other questions, I'll stick around in here. We'd be happy to answer any questions that are course specific. But then please, I would love to hear from you. I hope you don't feel like I'm just saying that. We are just so happy to help in doing some of this work and making your course experiences more accessible. If you don't reach out to us, we might reach out to you at some point. So if you're interested and willing, even if you don't have the time to make the changes, you know, send us a quick email. Let me fix that email address again. Either christopher.phillips@usu.edu or accessibility@usu. And we would be happy to show you how to do that.